It should. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alek. That's Matt Morrison. Mike Wolfgang in the middle representing the Pirates here today. Boys, opening day is coming up this Thursday. We're going to be talking all those games and more on Thursday and Friday. How's it going here on everybody's, what's this?
Tuesday, April
5th.
It's going good.
Had to remember what month it was.
Yeah, the other day I wrote down like 3-4 instead of 4-4. I'm like, oh no. So
it's going fast.
Yeah, it is, especially with all this rain and weather. I mean, you can't tell these months apart. They're all just kind of blending at the moment.
Yeah. I know we got all these games being canceled too, but
yeah,
looks like I'm gonna get a game.
Looks at the moment, knock on wood, that we're gonna get these games in here tonight because the rain's not supposed to come until 9:30, 10 o'clock. Tomorrow, question mark up in the air whether or not these games are going to happen. But YSN's got a full slate of action tonight, being highlighted by Akron, St. Vincent, St. Mary taking on Ursuline in baseball tonight on YSN. That's probably the highlight of the night. Let's go ahead and talk some high school baseball here to open up the show. That's a great one, but there's also Archbishop Hoban versus the defending Division IV state champions in Waterloo JFK. Great games going on.
Oh, man. Are you calling that?
No, I'm not on either one of those games.
Oh, man.
But those are probably the two highlights of out-of-town versus in-town teams. Your two in-town teams to look at tonight, in my opinion, I'd go LeBron and Garfield baseball. These two teams, they're both off to great starts to the season. They're both looking very strong. I believe they both received votes to get into this week's power rankings. Let's throw those up there right now for baseball. Week 1 power rankings read as such, as you can see up there. Garfield sits at number 6 on that list. LeBron was receiving votes. I'm actually on the committee who votes for the power rankings here in this spring. So if there's any teams, while we're going on the show, if there's any teams out there that you want to throw up and say, hey, look over here, look at my school, you know what, I'll take those into consideration. Yeah, Matt, if you want to say, hey, keep looking at Brookfield, if they can find out how to win games, I can do that too. But yeah, I mean, we're off to a great start already here for baseball, and hopefully it continues on and we can continue to get those games going every single night. So as I mentioned, those are probably the highlights for baseball. Softball today, Maslin Perry at Cardinal Mooney. That should be great. And then your in-town matchups go Poland at Struthers. Your top 10s here for softball standings read like that here. So we're still trying to figure everything out. Obviously, this first week here, a lot of cancelizations. Expect chaos out of these power rankings here in the first few weeks of the season. I'm guessing this is going to take a while for everything to kind of even out, teams to fall in there. And maybe the one thing I got to put up there, if anybody else from any of the other committees are watching, in this baseball ranking, sitting at number 8 is Springfield. Now, you go back just a couple days to last week, Thursday, Cardinal Mooney, a team not in there, took down that Springfield squad 12-9, and they were up by almost double digits going into the 5th inning. It was 10-1. The relievers came in and started walking guys through. That is how Springfield got run to the table in that game. Now, that's the end of my Springfield talk on that side. On the argument of Cardinal Mooney, a squad I had up here in the top 10. I know my squad here that I've been calling, maybe a little bit of bias, but from what I've seen out of them, very talented squad. They lost by 3 runs to a team that sits in the top 25 in the division. Ahead of them And then they went on to beat a team that sits in the top 25 of their current division. I think they're a squad
their schedule is
have to watch out for, and they're in action again tonight. So this is a very strong squad. Their top 3 pitchers are fantastic. The bullpen's got some room to work, but this is a squad that can hit. They're fast. They had one of their bigger guys, someone I've been calling slow, their third baseman, Logan Boyd, leg out a triple this last Saturday, I think it was. I was calling it like, he got over to third and went, well, that's the last time I'm calling him slow this season because he just legged out a triple. Cardinal Mooney, a dangerous squad to watch out for this season. Everyone's got to keep an eye on them throughout baseball. Matt, what
want to add in there
tonight?
But I want to add in on Cardinal Mooney. I mean, they just beat Wayndale, they beat Wayndale.
Yeah, that's the top 25 in Division 3.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we just saw their high school girls team do very well. They're a sports school. Yeah. So they have a huge strength of schedule. Like, they just lost 5-2 to Triway. And Triway just won the state championship, I'm pretty sure. Or it was pretty close, right?
They were up there.
They were up there. So 5-2 against Triway. I mean, their strength of schedule.
And not to mention, that ball game was coming down to it was 3-2 going into the 7th. Relievers, I believe it was, and relievers gave up the 2 runs.
Okay.
Cardinal Mooney,
I'm going to have to keep an eye on their games, too. You and I called them last year. Now you're calling them again this year. They're a heck of a team. Cole Whitman's from right in Brookfield, and his whole family comes into the store, and I hear all the stories.
There's a lot of Brookfield players, actually. Yeah. Bronson Ferenchek, one of their other pitchers, is born and raised in Brookfield. I believe so is Jeff Brenner. Jeff Brenner, the talented right and speedy right fielder. He's got a younger brother currently in Brookfield that I've been told to watch out for in the next coming years because he might be the next star out of the Valley.
From Brookfield?
Yep. He's transferring. He's gonna transfer out of Brookfield, though, from what I've heard, to Cardinal Mooney.
What's his name?
It's I don't remember his first name, but it's Jeff Brenner's younger brother.
I'll find that out tonight because I am calling Brookfield tonight. I will find this out.
Yeah, he's still in 8th grade, though. Still so long to go to see if he can develop into the level of talent even his brother is. But yeah, Cardinal Mooney's been a good one to watch. Matt, what games do you got going on tonight, though, on YSN Live?
So tonight I got Brookfield taking on Liberty tonight. So that should be a pretty good one. Finally, this is going to be my first game of the year because I've had cancellation because of, great Mother Nature. And I was supposed to have softball yesterday, but that was canceled. Tomorrow's not really looking good either. It's supposed to rain all day. So, but hopefully, it's decent today. It's about 60-ish degrees. We go down to Brookfield Park. Hopefully I can find that okay and, call a game. I heard it's right down from the school. So, they're like, yeah, it's right down from the school. I'm like, okay. So, we'll see.
Yeah, Liberty's got
I'm going to leave early. I'm going to leave like 3:30.
Not a terrible idea, but Matt, Charles Russell and his squad down there, they got to get something going. They did not do too great against Garfield. Granted, Garfield might be one of the best schools coming out of the region. In my opinion, they're neck and neck here in their first year for most likely to win the MVAC grades here this season. They got some really strong guys, but maybe the one thing that stood out to me through their first 2 games for Liberty, because this is the team that I'm also covering alongside of Cardinal Mooney. Probably won't see as much Leopards though this season because it's a rebuilding year, so gotta take it easy. But no hits so far on the entire season, so they really got to find a way to get that.
Really, going. Liberty, no hits?
They've been struck out a total of 13 times in those first 2 games, in which they have lost it by a combined 35-0. So they really have to find a way to get some life going to this offense. They got a very young team, and you're going to see a lot of different lineups. I mean, I heard Coach Russell after the first game against Garfield last week when I got sent out there that, they had 22 games. They're going to run 22 different lineups this year because they're trying to figure out who can play at what position. So, Matt, if you see somebody that's highlighting one area, point them out because
I will.
It's been a dark season so far, obviously a young one, but this is a team that needs some life. They need that senior leader. They need Venters to be that kind of the only senior on the squad, I believe, to step up into that leadership role, get this team together. I'm not going to say that they're going to have a winning season. It's going to be a rough year, and I think Liberty fans know that. Liberty players know that. But it's just about weathering this storm and putting together a team that can compete these next 2 seasons for Liberty.
Yeah, and, going on with Brookfield, they have some talent. They have the Pulowski brothers on there. I've heard some I know the Montgomery's Hayes Montgomery, a young talented pitcher I hear of. I've known him for a while. They have AJ Bartolin. All these football players that we've called, and
Yeah.
we've seen the athleticism or the athletic of them on the football field. Oh, let's see if they can bring him to the diamond. I know the Pulowski brothers are always, a good, a good athletic family. Honestly, I mean, they can play football, basketball. I'm sure they can play baseball too. So we're just gonna have to see here. I also heard some good things from Mark Randall too, good pitcher on the mound. So we'll just have to see. You have TJ Laverty on there as well, finishing up. He's a senior. He's gonna be gone after this year. So, and he's been a workhorse on both. I've seen on the basketball court and on the football field. So I'm sure he can bring that to the diamond as well. So.
Yeah, we're going to see. Over on my end of things, I got a doubleheader going on tonight at Scene 1. You can check that out on ysnlive.com. First game at 5. Second, it's scheduled to start at 7. Everybody knows it's probably going to be a 7:15, 7:30 start for Game 2. Game 1, though, for me, Cardinal Mooney taking on Youngstown East. As I've talked about Mooney a little bit already on the show, they're looking hot to start off this season. 3 games in, they got things working their way. On the other side, Youngstown East, they've played just 1 game, and they couldn't have started the season any worse. They're going to need to really turn things around here against Mooney. It's going to be hard. They started off the season against Hubbard. Hubbard won that game 23-0. That, like I said, hey, you know what? They got their worst game of the season out of the way on the first one. On the right side right now for East, hopefully you can't do any worse than 23-0. That's the most one-sided game I think I've ever heard of. And, that seems to be a running thing with Hubbard, Hubbard schools. I think it was earlier in basketball season. They beat the Campbell Memorial girls basketball squad. It was like 47-1 or something. So that school knows how to pull out random blowouts here and there. But luckily for East, after they go through Cardinal Mooney, they might get a little bit of an easier schedule to kind of get things going. Western Reserve, a team, I think, still trying to find some earlier rhythm on the year. Louisville's good. You'll have McKinley, Sebring going on, and then Lisbon and Beaver. So a couple of chances, I think, to find some momentum a couple times throughout this season. I think it's probable they can get a 500 season out of this year. They got a lighter schedule most of the way, but Cardinal Mooney tonight at 5 p.m. and Mooney's got a squad rolling with a lot of momentum right now. They're a little cocky and sometimes linked to their own demise. They can sometimes get a little too overwhelmed themselves. Like when they were up against Springfield 10-1, they went out there in the 5th inning, got cocky. Springfield came right back on them. Matt, what are you laughing about?
Nothing. Just keep going.
All right. Game 2 for me at 7 p.m. at Scene 1. Campbell Memorial taking on Crestview. As I mentioned, Crestview in that top 5 right now in the YSN power rankings. They deserve that spot so far. They've been off to a great start to the season, outscoring their opponents 41-8 through those first 3 games. 2 of them, they did it back-to-back nights, 12-1 victories over Newton Falls, and not a bad squad over there for the Tigers either. So no lightweight wins. They've had double-digit runs in every game so far. They put up 17 against Jackson Milton while allowing just 6. So this is a very powerful squad coming into town. Campbell Memorial on the other side, they had an equally tough start, in my opinion. They had LeBray on back-to-backs last week, lost a combined 21-4 between those 2 games. So a rough start, but as I mentioned, that's a hard road to go through. After this, they're going to have Brookfield coming up and McKinley and Liberty. So once again, another team with a hard start to the season. I think they got a ways to go to get that momentum going to find – I think they can get a strong – I'll say second start to the year. I don't know how much the Memorial Red Devils stand a chance going into this one because, as I mentioned, LeBray and Crestview to me 2 of the strongest teams right now in the MVAC. And going to start your season against those 2, you're trying to write up a recipe to not start 0-4. If they can steal one of these 2 wins here on the Tuesday-Wednesday series for them, that would be a miracle right now for that squad because Crestview, as everyone here at YSN knows, is a very strong squad this year. So those are my 2 games with my 4 teams here tonight. Let's go ahead and jump out of high school ball and head out to the Horizon League baseball after, I believe it was week 7. The standings are as such. Wright State sits in first place at 7-2. Oakland in second. YSU in third. Milwaukee in fourth. Northern Kentucky in fifth. UIC in sixth. And Purdue Fort Wayne slugging along the bottom as of right now in seventh. After that, you saw Wright State take down Purdue Fort Wayne in a 3-game stretch where they really kind of decimated them. Wright State back in action here on Wednesday in the Joe Nuxhall Classic against Cincinnati on the side of the Oakland Golden Grizzlies. They won 2 of the 3 games against YSU, and they've got Bowling Green tonight, or actually just about in 15 minutes here at 2:30. Youngstown State, as I previously mentioned, lost that series to Oakland. They have 2 epic games this week. They go to Columbus today to take on Ohio State at 6. And then tomorrow at Eastwood Field, they host Pitt coming into town at 1 p.m.
tomorrow
before we go live on the show. Yeah, so that'll be an awesome one tomorrow to see down in Eastwood Field. Then they got Northern Kentucky coming up this weekend. For Milwaukee, after this last week, they actually lost their series to Northern Kentucky 2 games to 1. They got Valparaiso coming up here. Valparaiso seems to be an odd squad because you saw a dominating victory by Fort Wayne 11-3, and then in the series against Valparaiso, it was UIC. They won just 1 of 3 games against them. So a squad that a couple teams have struggled with so far going into the weekend. That UIC squad, the Flames, dropped 2 of the 3 games to Valparaiso. They got Northwestern coming to town tonight. Actually, they head out to Northwestern, before hosting Oakland for the 3-game set this weekend. Purdue Fort Wayne. They lost their 3-game set to Wright State. They got Michigan tomorrow up in Ann Arbor, and then they will go to visit Milwaukee. Probably not going to be another good week out there for the Purdue Fort Wayne.
Probably not. They're just having a rough season right now. I mean, that's going to happen to one of these teams. I mean, there's 7 spots, and somebody's has to be in that last spot, and it's them right now. So it's just,
Yeah, 4-22
get back up on the
I'm
horse.
sure they pictured at starting the season, though.
Yeah.
But granted, I don't think any of these teams are having the start that they would have liked, and I think that's to the benefit of a team right now like Purdue Fort Wayne. Despite the fact that they're 4-22, you look at it, they're really only 8 games behind or whatever of Wright State. So there's still a long ways to go in this season, and one big run the other way. I mean, you go 22-4 in your next 26 games, you're right back up there with a chance to steal this thing with a team. Right? I mean, the number 1 team is under 400. I mean, there's one 500 team right now, and that's Oakland, but they're not first place in conference play. So there's some great opportunities for a team like Fort Wayne to kind of build their way back into it. But on the other side, there's teams like YSU, who's 3-3 in conference play, 10-17 overall, who could very easily take over first place in just 1 or 2 weekends.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say, 10-17, you wouldn't think that you're having the start you want, but you start the conference 3-3, and you just beat, on the schedule I'm looking at, you beat Pitt earlier in the year. That's an ACC team.
Beat
you
Penn
beat a Penn State team. That's a Big Ten team. So that's something to be proud of right there to start the year.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a great start for Horizon League teams. They kind of have stunk when they should have been, good, but when they've expected to kind of be blown out and run over, they have done the exact opposite. They've really put it in there, and it's been a fight against pretty much every major team, even when Youngstown State lost to Michigan State the other week. I mean, it was only by 7 runs, a 12-5 effort. Anytime you can put up 5 runs, Big Ten pitching squad, with the caliber of players YSU has, obviously they're not Power 5 players. These aren't the guys that are getting committed to teams like Michigan State. To put up 5 runs in that, to me, is a great sign. That's just a sign they got some great hitters over there too. And our pitching, I think maybe one thing this season, our pitching still does need work. It's very early on. They're getting those young guys used to it. And obviously guys aren't going for maybe as long as they will later in the season. So pitching definitely got to be picked up for pretty much every single team in Horizon League. And it won't hurt to get more hits either.
Heck no, it won't hurt to get more hits.
Right? It's kind of like the number one thing.
You got to get more people on base. Got to get more people on base.
Well, score, but pitching's the name of the game. You got to be able to pitch.
Yeah. And, it's great if you can put up 13 runs, but if you allow the other squad to put up 21 because you can't stop them via pitching, it doesn't matter how many runs you score. And that's a big thing I think you're starting to see maybe a little bit in hockey. You have some great offensive teams in the NHL, but they have no defense, and it costs them big time.
Matt, I know you'll agree with this because I talked about this with you before. pitching is the name of the game. You can never, ever, ever have enough of it. With starting pitching and bullpen help, you can never have enough.
Never. You could have, what's to say, what? You could have Jacob deGrom. You could have Max Scherzer. I know they're both on the same team, but you could have you could have any of the best pitchers in the MLB. Trevor Bauer, you throw him in there as well, and it still wouldn't be enough. It still wouldn't be enough. It's never enough.
Forgot about Kershaw out there, man. You got to throw in one of the best pitchers.
Clinton Kershaw as well. Who's the other guy? Adam Wainwright.
How about Kluber on his best day?
Yeah. Oh man, Kluber.
He's avoid injuries. He's a great pitcher.
Oh yeah, I still like Kluber.
I'm excited to see if he can.
He put Aroldis Chapman in the bullpen too.
Oh gosh, he might be the most dangerous closer in all of baseball.
Oh yeah, I still think
he's getting older. There's some guys overtaking him statistically, but on any given day, I don't want to be the guy going to the batter's box facing 104-mile-an-hour fastball.
No way.
That's the most dangerous pitch in baseball.
Rajay Davis to this day does not know how he hit that home run. Well, he had to clutch up on that bat because there's no way. Like he had to swing
He hit that home run because the fact he made contact, solid contact. You don't have to
come off the
that
bat.
hard. That thing's going 100. It is jumping.
When the exit velocity is that hard from the pitch coming in, I mean, it's going anywhere.
Yeah. He choked up on that bat too. He had to throw his whole body into that swing to get that out of here. Oh my goodness. But right now, like honestly, that Emmanuel Clase, like, who we have in our bullpen for Cleveland, I really think he's like a younger version of Aroldis Chapman.
I'm all for it. Let's make sure he don't go nowhere because I would love to get an Aroldis Chapman.
That's a problem with the Indians because we don't sign people to more than a 1-year contract.
You do more than my team does.
Hey, Matt, we'll see if the Guardians will sign people to more than 1-year contracts. It's the new era for Cleveland baseball.
You do it more than my team does, Matt.
Yeah,
that's not true.
You guys think you got it bad?
You even sent that thing the other day that showed Cleveland has less money than Pittsburgh.
Well, yeah, this year.
Yeah, Matt. Since we started talking about the contracts and stuff just the other week, that's completely flipped around. Yeah, and I think Cleveland's down near last place now because of it.
Yeah.
Baseball's crazy, man. But we'll see how the start of the season works out. Maybe the one thing, if Cleveland can do something with this roster, I'd love to see it.
You know who yeah, absolutely. But you know who I'm going to keep an eye on? Mainly because of the movie Moneyball. The Oakland A's.
Dropping everybody. What can they do?
Let's see what they can do.
Certain teams just can do it and some can't.
They even traded away Manea. Like, I'm like, what? Like, they even got rid of him. Like, they literally have nobody.
Baseball in today's show, but how about I throw this question out here since it's casual. Let's keep it casual out here. Who is outside of your major contenders? Who's the dark horse team to make it to the MLB playoffs this year? Dark horse. They're a good squad. Maybe put some guys together, but you're not necessarily sure if they got a full squad to do it. But your dark horse team.
I don't know, man.
I kind of have
Phillies.
I was gonna say Phillies.
But Phillies might as well be a contender.
With that lineup they have, I don't know if they have the pitching.
They're stacked.
They do. Aaron Nola's a stud, but their pitching staff gets hurt kind of. They're too inconsistent. But they have a guy like him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna what I'm gonna say right now, and this isn't really a dark horse anymore after what happened last night. Detroit Tigers. I love the Baez signing in the offseason. I love getting Austin Meadows yesterday for pretty much nothing.
Austin Meadows, yeah.
And they
have the number one prospect.
Yeah, they're starting the year off with their prospects.
And they have Javier Baez, too, by the way, at shortstop, who's probably one of the best shortstops in the game.
Yeah. And I used to get on Cleveland the last couple of years because, I mean, granted, they've had good years the last couple of years, but that division sucked. Now it's the Twins. Yeah. Now they have the Tigers are back. Now they have Kansas City, who's not great, but they're a bottom team that can kind of compete.
The thing with the Twins, I don't think that one player is going to make a difference. I mean, Carlos Correa is a heck of a player, but that's really their only addition. You're going to have to have a lot of their people already on the roster to step up, and I'm talking about. Man, what's his name? I can't.
Them guys on the roster though were there when they 2 years ago, and they were hitting home runs every pitch.
I'm talking about Buxton. Buxton is a heck of a player. Who's the other dude? I can't think of his name right now. I forget.
Who do you got? Dark horse teams.
For me or for Alek here?
Don't matter.
Personally,
Amazing
a team that I'm kind of liking right now at a spring training, a team that finished last place in the division, the Texas Rangers. How about that squad?
Rangers?
They had a big offseason too.
Yeah, they had a big offseason, 9-6 so far in spring training. And you look at them in their on-base plus slugging percentage so far in spring training, they rank in 4th in baseball. And they're actually a good leap ahead of the 5th team in the Cincinnati Reds. And they're competing up there against the Angels, the Giants, the Royals, and the Yankees are all up in that mess. Mike, your Pittsburgh Pirates are 7th in that category too. Just some things to watch out for. I think, when you talk about that on base plus slugging, it's a very big number for people to look at, especially this early in the season, of what this team might be. Just pure on base percentage is a team that's ranked 6th in all of baseball right now, 285 batting average too. So to me, that's probably one of your biggest dark horses. They pretty much rank top 5, top 10 in every hit category so far. And not to mention, I believe this team, they're 2nd in the spring training so far in home runs, but 1st in RBIs, because the Pirates have 37 home runs, which leads spring training, but just 84 RBIs. This team also leads in RBIs at 117. To me, this is a great dark horse candidate early here in the season, because looking at them finishing 5th place in the division last year, that can be a huge jump to just see this team even fighting for a wild card spot. That's why I got the Texas Rangers as my dark horse team going into the season.
Rangers.
I actually have one more. I'm staying with Milwaukee Brewers too. I know they won the division last year, but I think they lost Jackie Bradley. He went back to the Red Sox, but they took Hunter Renfroe from the Red Sox, who had a great.
There's another one. What about the Red Sox?
Great year last year, and then Andrew McCutchen. I like him coming over as a 4th outfielder. He's not what he was, but he's a 4th outfielder for them. And they still have the pitching with Corbin Burns and the guys behind them. So it's a team I get to see a lot because they're in the Pirates division. So, and I've always liked this Brewers team. They're just waiting for it to finally come.
All right. Well, I've got Texas Rangers as my official dark horse. Mike, you've just booked the Brewers. Matt, who is your official dark horse candidate for the season this year?
I gotta go Phillies. I'm gonna go with the Phillies.
It's a good one.
All right.
And I just want to add on with the Braves. Everybody's like, "Oh no, we lost Freddie," and I was actually repping my Freddie Freeman jersey today. But listen, we got Matt Olson for him. Matt Olson is a heck of a capable first baseman. You add Kenley Jansen to your bullpen. That's amazing right there. And you throw him in there. I mean, in their starting lineup, heck of a starting lineup.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind baseball's in a one-guy sport. Yeah. So yeah, you get rid of Freeman, you bring in somebody else. You still got a fairly intact team that just won the World
And by the
Series.
way, they're bringing back Ozuna. Ozuna's coming back. That a lot of people forgot about him because of the whole suspension. That's why they had to bring in those 3 outfielders they did last year with Jock Peterson and a couple other guys. I forget their names. But and you also have Ronald Acuna potentially going to come back in May. So you could probably call them a dark horse because a lot of people don't think they're going to win it again because they don't have Freddie. They don't have Freddie. So a lot of people are like, "Oh."
Kind of like in the NBA, a lot of people count Milwaukee out.
Yeah.
Defending champ getting overlooked.
The Bucks get overlooked every year because they're from Milwaukee. They're not a major market team. That's why they get overlooked. But we got to jump ahead here and go into the final college basketball top 10 rankings of the season. We've talked already a couple top 10s to start things off, but this one, our final of the year. And guys, before we get into it, any thoughts on that national championship game last night? Kansas coming out 72-69 over UNC.
I watched the first half, but I didn't watch the second half.
I fell asleep. I fell asleep. I'm like, I'm going to sleep.
You know, Matt always falls asleep with these.
I'm like, all right, UNC's up like 40-25. All right, we're good.
It was the biggest comeback in NCAA tournament history or championship history, one of the two.
Championship game, yeah.
But I fell asleep in my chair. I woke up, like, I bet you they won. I look at the score. I'm like, what?
You fall asleep at the halftime or whatever, and then you look back and you go, what the heck happened? I do that all the time during football season. I look at a game, it's a blowout, and then I look at it 8 hours later and I go, how did they come back? They were down by 40.
I was watching the first half of my dad, and I was like, I'm not watching the rest of this.
Baycott was dominating. What the heck happened to Baycott?
He got re-injured in the final minute. In the final, I think, like 2 minutes of the game, he re-injured himself.
What happened to – and what's his name? Brady I always forget his last name. Yeah, Brady Manick just kind of fell off. Like, he didn't have a good game. Like, he didn't play the way he did against Baylor. If he would have played, if you saw that Brady Manick from the Baylor game, this game wouldn't even have been close. And Baylor almost came back and beat them too. They were up by about 25 against Baylor, and Baylor almost came back. So, I mean,
I wasn't lost leads before. I mean, they've won a lot of games because of that first half of their game. So, well, let's get in here to the top 10. Let's get into the top 10, guys. At number 10, we will finish with a two-way tie here for the 10th place. One goes to the Auburn Tigers, the other to the Peacocks of St. Peter's. They will get a 10th spot in here. You know what? How I put together my top 10 on my list is the reason they get in here, because I decided, you know what? If a team was in the Elite Eight, they were one of the 8 best teams in the country. If we're going to say the number 1 team is the national champion, then those number 8 teams to me are your top 8 teams. They were in there. They deserve the right to at least get a nod coming out of it. And you can't deny the teams that they beat along the way. I mean, you're talking about 2 teams that we had into the top 10 in Purdue and Kentucky, and not to mention, UCLA along the way as well. This was a fantastic run for this squad, and I think they have to get some deserving votes going in here, because not many teams could have gone through Kentucky, Murray State, Purdue, and then finally go down to UNC and do what they did. So I'm giving the nod to them. They got the nod by the committee into the coaches poll, I should say, actually. They finished, I believe it was 22nd in the coaches poll. So there are some people looking their way, giving them a little bit of credit for what they did. And I think it's a deserving spot to put them at number 10 after the fun that they gave us. And, hey, they gave us some good content on the show, so we got to give them something.
Matt, I think you sent in the group chat, Doug Eatert's leaving.
Banks, Eater, and Lee are all transferring out of St. Peter's.
And they lost their head coach. That stinks.
Yeah.
You know where they're going to transfer? Seton Hall, baby.
Can you imagine they go to Seton Hall and win the title next year?
Oh, I'd be sick if I was a fan of St. Peter's.
Yeah, that would be pretty dreadful. How about a rematch in like the round of 64? We get Seton, or round of 32 maybe, Seton Hall versus St. Peter's.
Oh man!
If I'm working on the March Madness committee next year, I'm trying to figure out some way we can draw this up to see St. Peter's versus Seton Hall.
I just hope St. Peter's gets in again.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. It doesn't happen all the time.
No,
but on the side of this Auburn State team, Auburn State, but the Auburn Tigers, they had obviously the second round exit here. They weren't in my top 10. They just ran into a flaming hot Miami Hurricanes team, and they were rocking like a hurricane through that March Madness tournament, obviously. But Auburn, they had a great season, first place in the SEC. I think they got to get a little bit of love here in the top 10.
Yeah, I bet you they all go with their coach.
Maybe
at least
but...
maybe one of them. I bet you. What if you see Doug go to Seton Hall? We'll see.
I don't know.
We'll
see. Up next at the number 9 spot, maybe the highest shooting team in America this season, the Arizona Wildcats, getting the nod here. Made it to the 3rd round of the tournament before dropping to Houston, who somehow was able to pull that off. But, I really liked Arizona all season long. It's a shame they went down when they did. But, to me, I had this team as my 10th seed, one of the 2 teams I gave a nod to outside of the top 10. I feel like when you put together what they did in the regular season and then what they did in the tournament, I think it's a deserving nod to have this team inside the top 10.
Who did they lose to?
Yeah, definitely agree. They lost to Houston
2-16. I believe that was the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Team I had winning it all. But
I had Arizona winning it all, too.
We all did.
Yeah.
I don't really even know why I even picked them to win it all. I knew they were good, but it's like I could have picked somebody else.
Yeah, you're saying that now. What if they would have won?
I didn't know who to pick to win it all. I didn't know who to pick to win it all when I was drawn it out. I was like, anybody could really win it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a big side of it, but no, they just barely get the nod in here over teams like St. Peter's and Auburn. They finished with 6 votes in the final poll. St. Peter's and Auburn had just 5. So let's move on here to number 8 in the rankings. Miami Hurricanes, the team that knocked out Auburn. They've had one heck of a stretch, man. Not too often you see a 10 seed do the kind of thing they did. If it wasn't for St. Peter's, this would have been your Cinderella story.
I had them going to I think at least a Sweet 16.
Because I told you guys we're running into the eventual national champion.
I told you guys I was filling out the brackets. I like to pick the teams going in that are hot, coming in from their conference tournaments or whatever. If they don't have one, if they close out the regular season, they played well in the ACC tournament, and that's kind of why I like them going in. And I think I had them. Sweet 16. Yeah, I had them in Sweet 16, and I had them beating Auburn in the second round.
Got that right.
I didn't get many of them right, but
hey, Mike,
I like the
one, so shut up.
They played well.
Matt, any other thoughts here on Miami?
I mean, they had a heck of a season. I mean, nobody expected them to go that far, but they showed signs of it during the regular season. I mean, they beat Duke. They beat a couple other good teams as well. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of people overlooked them, including me, and they shouldn't have. So, yeah, heck of a season.
All right. Well, my rationale for Miami, they were one of the Elite Eight teams. I have them as my 8th seeded squad. I think out of all the Elite Eight teams, I think when they got there, especially, they kind of performed the least well. I mean, 76-50, it kind of lackluster for me. When you had such a great run taking down Auburn, Iowa State, I mean, they were winning almost every game by double digits, except for the USC one in the first round, which seems like a fluke compared to what they did in the rest of the tournament. So for them to go down by 26 points in that final game for them, that was a hurt for me on what their postseason resume looked like. But number 7 on the list, you Red Raiders of Texas Tech, a team I didn't give the nod to, but both you did, Matt. You had them finishing 4th, so you get the chance to talk here about Texas Tech, why you had them where they were.
I mean, they're a heck of a team. I mean, I honestly expected them to beat Duke, but, I mean, they've –
a lot of people did. They were favorites, I think.
Yeah, I mean – that was a pretty good game as well. But I mean, they beat some good teams in the tournament. I think they had a good run, and they were a solid team all year. They were one of my dark horse teams. So I thought they had talent all year long. So yeah, they deserved. I mean, they definitely deserve to be in the top 10.
And Matt, I didn't have them as high as you, but to help you out here, we kept talking about how good the Big 12 was all year, and they were one of the better teams in the Big 12.
Oh, yeah.
Outlasted Baylor.
Yep.
I think it's fitting that the Big 12 won the championship this year. I mean, it makes sense with how strong they were and how competitive they seemed out of conference. More importantly, I think definitely showed up in this tournament with those top 3 teams really showing out and giving us some good ones. Texas also not too bad up there. But let's go ahead. Number 6, an SEC, another one here in the top 10 to finish things off. The Arkansas Razorbacks getting the nod, 28-9. They finished things out. Also a team that lost to Duke along the way, but
they beat Gonzaga.
Against Gonzaga.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
this may have been outside of St. Peter's, this was the ultimate bracket buster this season. This postseason really.
Well, I mean, mine was already busted at this point, but. Mine was already busted at this point of this game.
Thanks to St. Pete,
I still didn't have Gonzaga going far, and it busted a lot of other people's brackets. I remember sitting in one of my classes. Our teacher
Everybody
knows
was yelling about Gonzaga losing.
Yeah. Well, I was sitting in one of my I was sitting in one of my classes, and this is before this game happened. And this was before Arkansas beat Gonzaga, and she knows I'm a broad sports guy and all that. And she's like, "Oh, who do you think's going to win?" I'm like, "I'll tell you who's not going to win. It's going to be Gonzaga. They're losing tonight to Arkansas." And everybody looked at me and they're like, "Oh no, they're gonna win. Are you serious? You're an idiot." Am I now? Nope.
Matt got the
well,
last
maybe in different areas, but not this one.
If they would have lost, you would have looked stupid.
Yeah, but they didn't lose.
But they didn't. So Matt was right. Well, speaking of that, team number 5, the Gonzaga Bulldogs, they get the nod right above Arkansas, and that was just how the bracket kind of worked out here. I had them as my 9th seed going in here. As I said, they didn't make the Elite 8, so they were the number 1 team outside of that Elite 8 for me. But Mike, you had them at 5. So did you, Matt. Matt, you had Gonzaga finishing above Arkansas. You picked Arkansas the upset. You want to explain that right there? Why you got Gonzaga so low?
I threw it together at the last second. I'm like, oh crap, it's 1. It's like 12:30. I got to hurry up and throw something together. Oh, this looks good. They were the number 1 overall team.
Yeah, they were. I mean, I think the finish.
That's why I had them at 5.
Right. Yeah. I think the finish where they did. I mean, definitely a strong finish.
No matter what I thought of them, no matter I didn't think they were the best team. No, doesn't matter what I think. They were still the number one team, so I didn't want to drop them completely down. So
Right.
I think 5 is
they
fitting.
finished as a nearly unanimous number one in our poll. You and Mike both had Gonzaga as the number one. I had Baylor as my number one, and neither one did all that great. So, well, we didn't really think either one was going to do terribly too much throughout the postseason. No. So let's move into our Final Four. It consists of the teams that were all part of this year's Final Four. We'll finish this out with Villanova at 4. To me, guys, kind of the lightest of the competitors that we saw. They had a great tournament run, no doubt. But when you got down to that Final Four and you lose by, so was it 16 points to Kansas? Obviously, Kansas was putting together something special, but they had a nice run to get there. The fact that
Kansas came back in that game,
the lowest out of these Final Four teams that we saw.
I was kind of surprised to see the way Villanova played in that game too, because I was talking about when they're picking how solid they play, and they kept trying to come back. I was telling Matt yesterday. Every time they get it down to like 5, 6, 7 points, Kansas would score a couple
couldn't get
passes.
it past 6 points. They couldn't get past 6 points.
It was kind of what happened to Ohio State when Ohio State went up against this Nova team. So somebody played Nova's game against them, and it won a championship because of it.
Yeah, but Nova's got nothing to be upset about. They had a good year.
Finished with 30 wins.
Yeah.
To me, 30 wins is kind of the ultimate goal outside of the national championship when you talk about basketball, because that means you put together a fantastic regular season, and only 2 teams finished the regular season with 30+. That was Murray State and South Dakota State. Both of them obviously went out decently early in this year's tournament, and then you get these teams that make their postseason runs and hit 30+ games, like the team we have up next on our list here in the Duke Blue Devils, who finished 32-7 overall. A fantastic run for them, but dropping their final one to the rival UNC. Boys, I called. I was saying it.
I know you called it.
UNC spoiling it. I called it right here on the show. It happened.
Yeah, it does. That guy went right to the line. Who was it? Williams went right to the line and missed both of his free throws. I'm like, that's it. I shut it off.
But how about that? Coach K will finish him out here, 3rd in his career for the final college basketball top 10. I believe he also finished 3rd place in the coaches poll as well with the Duke Blue Devils. But final game goes out in a Final Four. I think one heck of a career for Coach K. Getting one Final Four back in there, I think to me is just as great as getting that national championship. The championship would have been the cherry on top, but getting back to the Final Four in his final year after all the question marks all season. How about the controversy to start out this season? We didn't know if we were going to see Paolo Banchero after the first couple of weeks due to I think one of the players that was involved with some criminal activities or something. Remember that? We talked about that a long time ago on the show back beginning of the season. There was a bunch of controversy after the first 6 games of the year. So for Duke to do what they did at this point, I think getting past the controversy, I love the way they finished things out, getting down there. Just a 4-point loss to UNC, who at that point had dominated everybody in the tournament.
And Duke basically at the end had this game. I'm not. They didn't have it in their hands, but they were leading. They pretty much had a chance to win it, but they just couldn't close it.
And that was the thing I think we kind of pointed out all season for Duke. They didn't really close games, and that was the biggest problem for them. They didn't have to all tournament long, maybe outside of Texas Tech, but they got down to a game they had to close, and they just couldn't. So that was definitely, it seemed, the one thing for this Duke squad all year long was they couldn't finish.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfectly executed. You get down to the Final Four against your rival for the 2nd time, and they beat you in your biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
And how about this one? Duke and Coach K versus UNC split it 50-50 in his career.
15-50. I saw that. And I also think I saw that he lost his first career game to North Carolina.
He did.
And lost his last game to North Carolina.
How fitting of a way to go, man. That's writing a story right now. If you're an author, that's what you're writing down, man.
Yeah.
You can't write it any more poetically than that.
Well, for Coach K,
what was it?
Right.
I think it was over 1,200 wins. Career was 1,000. I forget what it was, but it was 300 and it was 306 losses over 40 years. I divided it. That's about 7.5 losses each year for 40 years. That's insane.
I definitely think there's going to be discussion about him being the greatest coach of all time. I definitely think he's got
definitely
a
up
good
there.
Resume. I think there'd be a lot of deep digging you have to do to actually go in and pick the best coach of all time, but he's up there.
Dean Smith and
Wooden.
Oh yeah, Wooden was good. So
he's definitely Mount Rushmore. That's not even an
Oh
argument.
yeah.
When you put together your collection of top 4, top 5 guys, I think you got to put Coach K up there. And I don't want to point out that it's just recency bias on that, but I think there might be some coaches getting left out of that discussion just because of how long ago they were dominating basketball. So obviously, different era these days. But I think there are a few older coaches that I think have kind of got lost in the wind along the way that we got to go back and look at. Maybe Matt can do a deep dive of kicking it back with Matt some point this summer. Who knows? Stay tuned. But moving ahead here in the final 15 minutes of the show, the number 2 team, the loser of the national championship, the UNC Tar Heels. To me, guys, this may have been the single best team in all of the tournament. They lost their final game, but it was even hard with that loss to say that they weren't better than Kansas because majority of that basketball game, they were the better team. I mean, to have that big of a lead on them, they let off the gas. They did the biggest mistake you could do in sports, and they let up on their opponent. And Kansas made them pay because Kansas might be the most talented team, but I think UNC was the best team. I think they were the best unit of guys out there, and I think that's what what you saw when they took down number 9 by 32 points. They beat Baylor, the defending champions, by 7. They took down UCLA by 7. They ended the miracle run of St. Peter's. They ended the historic career of Coach K, and then they lose by 3 points to Kansas in the championship game. UNC, to me, it's harder to say and that nobody has a greater resume for that number 1 deserving spot. I had Kansas as my number 1. They were unanimous. They won the championship game. I gave them that, but it's hard for me to say that UNC was not the better team.
Yeah, they definitely were the better team, and they let up on the gas a couple of times during their tournament games. I mean, they let up on the gas against Baylor. Baylor almost came back and beat them, and they just finally bit them in the butt in this game.
Yeah.
So,
well,
the only game that they really pressed down hard, pedal to the metal, was the Duke game. They didn't let up in that game because it's Duke, but they let up against Kansas. Their championship was, I bet you they were more happier than beating Duke. I bet you I know some of them showed, they were pretty sad after that game last night, but, they took down Duke. They're arch rival.
Let's go on to number 1 here. The defending champions. We're going blue for the rest of the show here to honor our national champions this year. The Jayhawks come out on top of the national championship game. To me, though, they had an okay run. It wasn't one for the record books. They didn't really have to go through that much. They went through Villanova and UNC. Providence, you could give me a coin flip on that one. I don't think it's nearly as strong as what UNC had to go through. I think if you put Kansas in that same side of the bracket as UNC, I don't think Kansas comes out of it. So Kansas is the champion this year, and I'm going to give them credit for that. But I don't think this was the best team in the tournament. I'm not sure if this was even. I know they won the title, and you got to give them credit for that. But they could have had much better games to go through. I think I said it multiple times. I thought that was the easiest side of the bracket in this March Madness, and they got rewarded because of it.
And I agree because they're, even the games that they had in this tournament.
Kansas, by the way, fantastic team. They won the title.
No, this is no dig, but I'm just saying that
Kansas City Jayhawks. Right?
I'm not saying they're lucky or anything, but I'm saying in some of the games they're kind of fortunate because even last night with Abaji, he didn't really come out in a lot of these tournament games and set the tone early. He kind of waited, see how things went. He kind of got far behind, and then he kind of made his move. And they were saying that last night in the broadcast. I heard Reggie Miller say that in broadcast early in the tournament that he needs to get going, and he eventually did. But they found a way to win it without him.
Just 15-point scoring. So
yeah. But
hats off to Kansas. Their first championship.
They got the job done.
2008.
That's it.
Oh, yeah. First championship since 2008 where they took down the Memphis Tigers, who had Derrick Rose on their team. I think John Calipari was their coach, too. Let me look. Yeah, he was.
And I just want to say, Bill Self, last championship, like you said, Matt, 2008, and he was there for that one. And
with Mario Chalmers. That was the Mario Chalmers buzzer beater.
Yeah.
You don't remember that. That was sweet. I didn't remember it, but I know Mario Chalmers with the Heat, so.
Yeah, but people have been saying, Bill Self only had one title in 14, 15 years. He finally got a second one last night. So now there's not many coaches out there that have 2 championships or 2 or 3.
It's hard to get in college basketball when you got that round of 64. if you can have a dynasty career where you can get more than 1 or 2 titles, I think you certainly have one to remember. So he's putting his name up there in the hat for, if I'm sticking this out another, 10, 15 years, you got to put me out next to Coach K someday if he continues on this track. I mean, you say this guy in another 15 years can get another title, maybe 2 in there, depending on who he can bring in. With how strong this Big 12 is getting, I don't think there's any saying that Kansas can't get another championship along the way. So he's got a good, out of current coaches right now, he's got as good a bit as any to be that next head figure of the coaching staple of college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking right now, current coaches, he's probably compared to, Jay Wright. He has 2 national championships. He's been in Villanova a while. Bill Self's been in Kansas for a while. So coaches right now, he's one of the better ones for sure.
Right. But with Coach K being gone now. So let's finish this thing out. Let's go into the NBA to roll out the rest of the show. 4 games to talk about here. We're loading up because we're not going to see them for the rest of the week.
But they didn't even play yesterday.
Right. That's why we're going in a little bit more into them today. So let's start things off with the Charlotte Hornets taking on the Miami Heat in Miami at 7:30 tonight. Miami Heat, man, they have, I believe, clinched the first seed of the playoffs potentially. No, they've clinched the division. I don't think they've officially gotten the first seed locked up just yet. Only one team's done that. That's the Suns. So, they got a good spot, though, to finish out in first place. But on the other side of this, Hornets, they're in dire needs right now of fighting for a playing squad against the Nets because these teams, final 2 getting in. I don't think the Knicks or Wizards are going to make any sort of miraculous comeback to finish out the year. But I still think you want to work out that seeding a little bit between those 2 and, potentially fight for home court. I think if this is earlier in the season, I think this is a spot the Hornets I don't think would mind finishing 10th, where Nets would get home court advantage and Kyrie can't play. But now that Kyrie can play at home, I think Charlotte has to continue to fight for that home court advantage. I think that's their biggest way that they can come out on top in the postseason is getting that home court advantage because I'm not sure if you're going to get that done against a team like the Nets if they're playing at home. So going tonight, this is the game they desperately need. But Miami Heat, man, they've been on something 4 straight games, 6-4 in their last 10, and they're one of the best squads at home this season, 27-12 when they've gotten to play in front of their home crowd. So it's been a great one for them this year, and I think I'd probably give them the nod in this game if Charlotte Hornets didn't need this so much. I'm going to give this one over to Charlotte because at this point, I think they need to find a way to get home court advantage, and that comes out with winning big games like this. That's why I give them the nod tonight. They need it a little bit more than I think the Heat do. They're in a great spot to finish out this final week of basketball. 3 games left on the season, and they have a 2-game lead over the Celtics. I think they're in pretty good position so long as they can win. I think one of the next 3, they've got this thing.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on this game, and I'm going to use what you're saying with Hornets to go the other way. I think sometimes when you get down to the end of the season and you need these games, you tend to lose them because you know how much you need it.
Press too much.
Yeah, and you're playing on the road against a team. I was just going to say their home record before you said it, 27-12. Miami's a good home team. And I think, Charlotte's a team that depends a lot on their offense. And if they're not hitting on offense, it's not going to work most nights for them.
Yeah, that could very well happen. I don't see that being a far off thing of them pressing a little too hard on tonight's game and coming up short.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with Mike here. I'm gonna go Miami here too. But man, Charlotte Hornets. Isaiah Thomas just came out of underneath a rock. Like they picked him up 10-day contract, and now he's still there, isn't he? I think he's been balling out
the same rest of the season.
Yeah, that's right. He's been balling out. I like watching the Charlotte team with him on it. So it's pretty cool to see what they can do. But that plan, it's gonna be something. You got Cavs, Hawks, Hornets, and the Nets. They're gonna be in there. So it's gonna be something.
Hopefully. So we got 2 Heats and a Hornet over here. The next game going on for us in the NBA, if my cursor wants to work, will be the Atlanta Hawks taking on the Toronto Raptors.
Oh, man. We talked about that yesterday. I'm
That's
sorry.
All right. We're cutting time anyways here.
Let's talk about it again.
Well, tonight, a little bit more relevant.
I already made my pick.
A little bit. A similar position I think the Raptors are in going up against, Bulls right above them. Into the standings. So it's a game they definitely need to win, especially with the Bulls having a tough game against the Bucks tonight as well. But on my side of this one, I guess since you guys picked it yesterday, I'm not going to lie. I didn't look at what you guys picked at for the most part yesterday. I was putting this show together.
Send it.
Since we made our points yesterday. Why don't you just go off here? And
you know what? We got 2 more games to get to here, so I'll just go ahead and throw one out.
I picked the Hawks.
You picked the Hawks. I'm gonna go Raptors on this one. I don't like this
Raptors
much. They got a 5-game win streak, but I think that comes to an end here.
Okay.
You guys both had Hawks yesterday?
I think I had the Raptors. No, I had the Raptors.
Okay. Yeah. Well, then let's go into that Bucks versus Bulls game because that's a great one. You got to definitely be looking at here, and I hope you guys didn't pick that one.
No, we didn't. Nope. We just picked the Cavs. We did the other game was the Cavs. So.
Okay. Well, how about this one? I mean, Bucks lost their last 2. Bulls lost their last 1. Neither one's doing phenomenal in their last 10. I think this about as coin flip as it gets. The only thing for me is Bulls are a better home team than they are away, and Bucks, they're pretty solid everywhere around, but I'd say they're a better home team. I think I'd go ahead and give the nod here to the Bulls here at home. I really love the Bucks, and I might flip my pick if Matt goes against the Bucks here because every time he did last week, he was wrong. So I'm going to wait to officially nod in my pick here until Matt. Who you got in this one?
I don't know. I don't know. The Bulls have been kind of on a drought a little bit. They haven't been winning as much. I mean, they picked up some games here and there. I mean, against Cleveland, but I mean, I'm going to go Milwaukee here. I think Milwaukee is solidified as the defending champions, and people shouldn't overlook them.
Okay, then I'm going to go the other way on this one. I'm going to take the Bulls in this game. Considering the fact Cleveland kind of needs either the Bulls or the Raptors to lose, I don't see either one happening because it's never going to help out Cleveland. I think everyone's got to remember that. Teams ahead of us never want to help us out at this point in the season. So I'm going to say that, I already gave a win earlier to the Raptors. I'm giving one here to the Bulls as well because they're a team that we need to lose, so they're probably going to come out on top. Mike?
Yep.
You're actually kind of right. I'm picking the Bucks. I'm picking the Bucks, but not for that reason. But ever since you pointed that out, that's how it seems to work.
You get down to this point of the season and go, I need this team to lose. I mean, this feels like for any sports franchise, right? Like, I need this team to lose. All we have to do is win, and then you lose and they win. You go, well, now we're out of it.
Well, we're 2.5 out of the top 6. We're pretty much locked into the play-in, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, you never know. Final game, though, another great one with the last few minutes of the show wrapping down. The Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Utah Jazz tonight in Utah at 9 p.m. Guys, any thoughts on this one after the Grizzlies have won 7 straight? The Jazz lost their last time out. I think I'm going to go ahead and jump right on this Grizzlies team. I think we all really love what this team has put together.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, positively.
And you know what? A lot of times when I've been picking Utah lately, they don't win. So give me the Grizzlies.
They beat the Suns the other day. That 7-game winning streak includes a win over the Suns, who a lot are picking to go back to the finals. So, and they did that without John Morant.
Again.
Right. Yeah.
Again.
I'm seeing today if they said he'll play today. I think it's still up in the air.
If he doesn't, man, they're still good.
Right.
He might be out. It says CBS Sports saying knee expected to be out until at least April 7th.
Yeah, okay. It says he's ruled out for tonight's game against the Jazz, according to the Grizzlies PR.
So he's got a couple more days.
Yeah, he's still got a couple more days in the injury. Yeah, but as Matt said, it really don't seem to matter. And I think if they were in a playing game, I don't even know if I'd want John Morant in there with how great this team seems to play together. But I think if you go full 7 games, you need a guy like John Morant, especially when you're going to be the overlarge favorite.
Yeah, you need your leader.
You want your best player in there.
And Dylan Brooks is a game time decision, too.
Yeah.
Just while we're on the injury front.
All right. Well, that is going to do it here for another edition of the Casual Sparks podcast, finishing things out blue for the Kansas Jayhawks since they win things here. Matt, you're looking at me like I'm crazy. What?
I'm not looking at you. I'm just looking.
Well, you're just crazy then. That is going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. You can check us out tonight on YSN. Make sure to tune in to some sort of baseball. There's plenty of great ones on tonight. Make sure to tune in somewhere to it. I've been Alek, Brennan, Matt Morrison, and Mike Wolfgang. Make sure to tune in to Power Hour coming up next on ysnlive.com. With that, we will see you all tomorrow. Well, I won't. They will. Peace out.